side would be amazing. So thank you guys. All right, so we have one of our sponsors for tonight. Oh, my picture didn't show up. There was a picture there. But from the specific, Chris, you want to say a couple words? Woo! You get us here. Microphone.
Yeah, thank you. Well, yeah, I'm pleased to be here speaking tonight and happy to sponsor. I love this event. Is anybody, this is your first time at one of these events, Health Chat? Please go back, it's so good. And you don't have to be a health practitioner, but it's a great place to meet health practitioners and also mingle and learn about other professionals in the town and which on the work. The work we do is primarily focused around the upper cervical spine. So we do kind of a clinical model where people come in, do nervous system testing, x-rays, and a holistic sort of evaluation and personal care that a lot of people love because a lot of people are used to going in and just kind of getting adjusted and then leaving, and then sometimes not always leaving with answers and not feeling like they're getting well. And I also want to honor the space we're in. Brett does an awesome job being nervous system focused, and so we have to share a common goal in that way, but our approaches are very different. In fact, they're complementary. So we often work together on missions. But if you're interested in the work that we do, feel free to reach out to us. We love the community. As we hear more tonight, I'll stop by there.
Yay! Thank you so much, and thank you for all of your work that you do in the community and helping to bring this for us. So I appreciate it. All right, and then I'm a sponsor as well. So Movement Mantra, physical therapy and coaching. I do a lot of different things, but yeah, physical therapy, helping with any aches and pains, things that you've got going on. A lot of people come to me after they have finished their round of kind of insurance-based therapy and maybe haven't gotten quite back to what they want to be doing. So that's where I get to come in and kind of help get them to their ultimate goal, sometimes even transition them into personal training and all that. So if you need any help, let me know. All right, and if you are curious to sponsor an event like this or want to know more about what that would look like, then please just come find me and or Caitlin over here, and we will can talk to you and kind of tell you what that would look like. But we are super excited to partner with different people in the community. So yeah, let us know if you would like to be sponsored. So this I like to start with because I think that is a really important mindset to go into this type of event. And the thought is that the person that you need to meet is here today. And sometimes that could mean so many different things. It might mean that somebody, you get a warm embrace from somebody, and that hug is like something you really needed. Or maybe they give you a little nugget of truth that you really needed to hear. So I think that that's a really important way to kind of come into this space and with an open mind, and just know that the person that you need to meet is here tonight. All right, so I always have this kind of just at the beginning because I want to open up the floor for anybody who has something that maybe they're really looking for. This is really about community and connections, and we're talking about community tonight, but I want Health Chats to be a space where people really feel like they can come and they can find the person that they're looking for. So just always want to open up the floor. If there's anybody who's looking for maybe a certain type of practitioner or looking for something specific, if you have something, just raise a hand, and I'd love to give you the floor. Yes?
Helping someone to rehome a cryotherapy would have to be into a business. They cannot deliver nitrogen to residences, and it does not cost money to purchase it, but it's a long story. Anyways, my name is Emily. I'm a Brigade Athletic Club, and if anyone has a space where they might want to have a cryotherapy chamber, you can actually self-service and everything. I can hook you up.
Okay, we have a potential cryotherapy chamber that Emily can hook you guys up with, so in case anybody needs that. There you go, that's amazing. Anything else? Yes. I'll give you this.
I'm looking for a holistically minded OBGYN.
Okay. Holistically minded OBGYN. So if we have any in the house and or if somebody knows of one, Then, if I can raise your hand. Then, yes. Woohoo. All right, so.
Email, I'll tell you.
Yes, I love this, exactly. Yes.
We're actually looking at, so my office, I've got some space where it sits empty when I'm not in there. And we're looking at essentially ripping out to the right practitioner, or anyone who's in physical space, pushing the practice out of. We are worried about right now, not putting anything out on LinkedIn and things like that. So please come talk to me after we got on Instagram or.
Yeah. Yep.
I also have a physical space. It's in Eastridge right off Germantown Road, where I do wellness, really community-minded people. We have mental health and coaches and Ayurvedic in there. And so the idea is like we're really an interdisciplinary, collaborative group of folks. So I have 2 offices and also some studio space available. So if you rent the office, you can get a discounted rate on using the studio, which is maybe about this size or a little bigger. And then we also have green space to use.
Where?
Oh, in Eastridge, Ashara. Yeah.
Cool. Amazing. Yes. Okay. You can project.
Hey everyone, my name is Crystal. I actually own a travel agency here that's local. I'm a physical therapist as well. I've transitioned now into that. So I own my own retreat. So I do retreats as well. But if you have ever thought about doing any type of vacation where you wanted to go and experience an actual wellness resort or a specific thing like that, where that's the main focus, please let me know. I do have relationships with those hotels and some of those places. There's almost one at any, I can think of a lot of places. You want to go to Europe or South America, those are all available. So please reach out to me.
Amazing. Any last ones? Okay, perfect. And yeah, so see all your people wherever they are, and definitely pass around cards or numbers. Get connected. I love this. All right, so I am super excited to have this month's panel. We have Dr. Chris Collins, we have Jenni Morris, and we have Amy Walters here. So I am going to, I'm sure that works, let you guys, perfect. Let you guys kind of just give yourselves a little bit of an introduction to who you are, what you do, and yeah, we'll go from there.
Alrighty, hi everyone, my name is Jenni Morris. First of all, I am a proud single mama of a 6-year-old, and we live here in North Shore, and we just celebrated our 1-year anniversary of living in Chattanooga. So it's been an awesome year, absolutely obsessed with this community, and a little bit about me, and the reason why I came here is family lives in Georgia, but also just the nature here. It's been so warm and welcoming, and we love to go paddleboarding and any of the outdoor things. Also love to dance. Stucky here is actually one of the first people I met. She runs the static dance when I moved here. And I also run several different community groups here in Chattanooga. So I run a women's networking group called She Moves Mountains, which I know several of you here have been to. Also run girls circles, women's circles, and the newest and really exciting thing that started in Bushan and Hamaker is called Connection Lab, and it's an embodied, authentic relating type of workshop for building community. And then for my own work, I am the founder of Synergy Coaching and Retreats, and I work with people who hold a lot, carry a lot, so think leaders and entrepreneurs and parents, and help them to increase their capacity to navigate life and all of the external demands that life has on them with more resilience and more vitality.
That's a hard act to follow. You have so many glorious things going on. I loved it. I'm Amy Walters. I own and operate the Scout Guide, and also am the host of Heart of the City, which is a podcast celebrating local businesses and entrepreneurs. So, yeah, community is everything for me. The Scout Guide is a publication that features local businesses as well. We come out once a year, and it's super creative, super fun. Some of my members are here in the room, and they become friends, and it's a really great community. So all of my success has been because of community and relationships, as I'm sure you all can attest to as well. And so I'm just really happy to be here tonight. Personally, I'm a mom of 2 little boys, 10 months and 2.5, so we're busy. I was taking knives and Windex out of their hands and walking out the door, it's just that life right now. Not knives, but yeah, honestly, I'm like, all right, we got to child-proof this house. Yeah, and I live here in North Chat as well, so neighbors. And yeah, I think that's about it. I have a dog named Ted.
I'm just imagining getting lacerated and sprayed with the slice is bad enough, but then they have the spray right after.
Maybe disinfect it though, so.
Yeah. Well, I already got to share some about what the work I do. I guess I could say more about who I help. And I was talking to someone else earlier about this, but it's really amazing. We get to work with great cases of all kinds. But 2 primary people that we help in my work, got like really chronic, complex issues that people suffer with for years and have tried everything else, and really feeling like they're still only scratching the surface, or maybe not even that. Really at an end. So they're looking for someone who has a lot of confidence in the clinical side of things, and then also has a lot of options from like a resource standpoint. So we don't take care of all things within our office, but we can refer out for a lot of things too. But then we do get really great results with chronic cases because we're working with the nervous system and some of these problems that go unchecked that people don't know about. So fortunate to work with those populations. We also get to work with wellness families and like really stressed out moms that are guys like think about people bringing in and seeing their kiddos and the mom, and we're like having a heart-to-heart about just basically having like 3 or 4 full-time jobs all the time and never having a house switch and being like, why is my sleep all disrupted, and kind of navigating the support really that humans need living in this life we live in. So that's something I'm very passionate about, and just get to I love my work, so I get to do this every day. I'm so excited for it. Personally, I love my family too. Proud husband and dad of 2, and I have a 7-year-old daughter named Solace and a 4-year-old boy named Cabot, and they're lovely, and a dog named Lola. I like to do a lot of things Jenni does too, so we should hang out. Outdoor stuff and dancing, but that's
You just have like a big dancing group.
dance
I
group.
dance, so they all dance.
Yes.
Amazing, but yeah, you all can kind of pass that one around and all the huh?
So bring your knives and then.
Okay. The whole other type of music. So this is, I think it's really cool, and it just shows that there's such an interest in community, like seeing how many people we have here tonight, and new people as well, and then old faces as well. And so I think it's a really interesting time, just in general, when there's really a craving for people to come into community with each other. And there's a loneliness epidemic, we're isolated in many ways, but also very connected in other ways. And I've been having this conversation with a lot of people over the past, really the last year, and even today, I had a conversation. Bluetooth is talking to me. But I wanted to kind of get your guys' thoughts and perspective on kind of community, where we are, what community means like today, and like how you guys are cultivating that in a time that seems, kind of connected and disconnected all at once.
Yeah, so this is like one of my favorite topics and has been for a very long time. I used to travel overseas. That was kind of my whole 20s, was doing that, learning different modalities of healing, but also very interested in what community needs all around the world. And so I lived in several intentional communities. I've been in like Southeast Asia, where it's a very different way of being together. And I see our culture here as we have moved more and more to the, I will say, almost obsession with individualism, right? And this independence. And there's beautiful things in having independence, right? And when we talk about health, like how how we take care of ourselves. However, we are wired, our nervous systems are wired for interdependence as human beings. And so it's so important to recognize that it's okay that we need each other. And I think that this is such an important conversation and really highlighting that this is a vital part of health. That even when I first started my journey in health and wellness, and I had no idea about anything. And my first thing was learning about nutrition and exercise, right? Which is such important pieces, but there's so many legs of the chair of wellness that if we look at it from this holistic view, which I love this group for doing that, that this belonging and this connection, this human-to-human connection is one of the biggest factors and determinants of our health. So this is such a good conversation to have, and how can we cultivate that more in Chattanooga right now, just from like the people in this room, for example.
I can speak to that a little from the business front too. Like I can totally appreciate that personally. Community is just so important. I mean, especially coming into motherhood, as mothers know in the room, it takes a village and all the things. But from a business perspective, I mean, I would say that like, and this is something I totally admire about Chris and Bree and others in the room, that we're lucky that we're natural connectors and we like to be out in the community and but that is what has created the business I have today. Like it wouldn't be sitting behind emails, it wouldn't be just making phone calls, like truly getting to know people and becoming friends with people in the community that have become my clients, but then also have become my practitioners and also host my food tours when I have people in from out of town or whatever it is. Like I just have so many people I can call for so many different things, and I think that it has really, it wasn't anything that maybe I was like setting out to do intentionally, like from a sales perspective. I really wanted to just forge relationships from a human level, and then that has just opened so many doors in business for me. So I think if you can kind of just keep in mind, or I don't know, if you're in a space where maybe you're feeling like, oh, I would love some growth or this or that, like reframing what it looks like to get clients or to create a funnel or whatever that is. Like maybe just get out there and like meet new people and attend more things like this. Like I just think this is so important.
That's great.
Chris seconds everything that was said.
That was great.
Okay, perfect.
It was.
Yeah, I think it's so cool to see how there's all of these communities also like blossoming in Chattanooga. Like each one of us has community, like we all have our individual kind of communities around us and different things, and it kind of all starts to web together though, which is really cool, where it becomes even more interconnected, which I love. And so I'm kind of curious too, because some of you guys have been here longer than others. So how did you go about like starting? Like maybe I've met a lot of people that are moving to Chattanooga. You just moved a year ago, right? So how do you kind of step your foot into that door and like find community, and or if it's not there, create it?
Yeah.
So one thing that Chattanooga has, I'm about to say the Chattanooga. One thing that Chattanooga has is the Chattanooga Way. Has anybody ever heard that before? The Chattanooga Way? No one in the room? Dang. Maybe it doesn't exist anymore. I don't know. When I first moved to town, this was over 9 years ago. You know me. It was really weird. Like we came to town the first weekend. I was like calling up somebody on board of some community thing, and they were like, "Oh, I'm hosting a fish fry. You should come over." And it was like, okay. Me and Aaron went to this lady's fish fry and sitting around. It was just like a small group of people and they were all potlucking, and we didn't know it was a potluck. And we just came and ate fish. It was great, and met a lot of people. And then that same weekend, we were kind of bumping around. We saw an open house. We walked inside, and those people were like, "Oh, we need horses and stuff. You should come to our church." I'm like, "Why not? Let's go." And so we were meeting people because people were just inviting us to everything. There's so many things to do in Chattanooga. So in one way, I think that at least I feel there's a personal responsibility. I will say this too. When we started practice and I started to promote my practice, people were very endearing about Louis groups, and there are a lot of places that ice you out, you know, and there were so many places. As an example, we saw them when we first moved to town, and they were over on the other side of the North Shore, and they were welcoming us. You know, we were both doing different things, but they were super sweet people, and just like made us feel very welcome and supported. And a lot of the other chiropractors here, actually, we have like chiropractic groups, we hang out together. But I think that there's access to that sort of mentality if you choose intentionally to practice that yourself, and I think it comes to you as well. So it's like being open to give out those things that you wish to receive as well. So I think the Chattanooga Way is one way that we did things, and then for us, we also had like strategic business side of things. We had like a whole opening strategy, soft opening, and a large opening. You know, keeping up with people and follow-ups and all of that stuff too. So we did all of those things in order to like meet a lot of people. But there are so many things to do in Chattanooga. It's a great way to meet a lot of people.
Yeah, so I moved from Colorado, and the first thing I noticed in Chattanooga is that there is much more of this invitational, like open door policy, and really appreciate that about Chattanooga. And the other thing, when I started my networking group here, I noticed that so much, number one, there's so many small businesses and entrepreneurs in Chattanooga per capita. It's just a lot. So there's a lot of like respect of that, and I feel like word of mouth is really crucial. And so when that happens in a community, and reputation is all built on word of mouth rather than just this business with a title and a big brand, then it creates, to me, a more interpersonal, like relational level of even doing business.
Yeah, one thing I can speak to is like maybe don't lose sight of kind of creating like your dream list a little bit. Like if there are people out there that you see online or you see in the community and you're like, man, I think because we're all Chattanoogans and like, I mean, I still reach out to people that I'm like, hey, would you want to go grab coffee? And like, I just like, that's good for all of us. And it's fun. It's something that I like to go do, and I like to pour into others. I like to learn from others, and I'm so grateful when people are willing to take the time or just get on the phone for 15 minutes and, be able to be like, hey, I just wondered how you started this. And it's just like to keep inspiring ourselves, I think, and keep reaching out beyond our circle is really important, because I think with the demands of life and, kind of this loneliness, like we're just in this bubble a bit, and it's like we have to remember to keep reaching out and reaching above us so that we stay inspired and stay motivated. And I just think there's something to be said about send the DM or send the, ask for the connection today. Be like, hey, I think so-and-so. I've been really wanting to meet them. Like, and I just can speak for myself, like connecting for me is like part of my life's purpose. And so I love doing that, and I think a lot of people do, and we underestimate that, and people can get kind of scared to just ask.
Yeah.
The one word that came to me when you were speaking that's so important that I feel like sometimes as adults we forget about is curiosity. And it's something that kids inhabit, and it's what helps them to go out and explore the world. Because I know, speaking with a lot of adults, that like, where do I meet people? How do I get connected? And to me, it all starts with being curious, allowing that childlike curiosity to come in. Because there really is truly so much available, but it's hard to see unless we open up that curiosity, start asking questions, and getting ourselves out there.
Yeah, that's so true. I mean, I'm just thinking back to like, for me, like in creating this, about a year ago, I started just like, I knew a couple people, and I was looking for a health and wellness like meetup or something where to meet these people, and it didn't exist. So I was like, well, there's lots of health and wellness in Chattanooga, like they gotta be somewhere. So I remember like I sat down with my yoga teacher and I had coffee with her, and then I was like, okay, who else should I talk to? And she gave me a list of like 10 people, and then I reached out and probably had like 4 of those people I got connected to, and she said, well, you should talk. And then I just kept asking people, well, who should I talk to next? And that was like a really cool, over the last year, I probably sat down and had coffee with over 100 people and just like chatting with them. And like, no ask, just like getting to know people. And I think that is something that for me, community has really been like meaningful in creating that community with people. So yeah, at least that's a little my side of the community stuff. I think it's been really cool because Chattanooga, once you start to get into certain groups, then you're like, oh wait, I just had coffee with somebody today, and we started talking, and I've never sat down with this woman before, but we had like 5 people in common that we knew. I was like, have you should talk to this person. She's like, oh my gosh, that's like my best friend. I was like, well, that makes a lot of sense. So I think that's a really cool thing and a unique thing about Chattanooga just in general. So I mean, when we look at community, it can be so many different things, and community kind of has these, like kind of have our really close community, we have kind of like layers of community, right? But I'm curious for each of you, like maybe it's in your personal lives or your business networks, what does like being in community with people actually mean to you?
Yeah, I think that the two would be somewhat overlapping because I do have I live out in Red Bank, and we have an awesome community, our neighborhood group, and we always see each other walking down the street, we have like fires and movie nights and stuff together, it's really fun. But I never see those people in town, and I'm in town a good bit, and in town I have a lot of other different communities. And it's usually just associated with, like things like this. Like I've got, a dozen different like health practitioners that I could just name that I'm fairly close to right off the bat. My core people, like I would say, Mackenzie who's over here and Brianna, those are like people I collaborate with a lot on a regular basis. We all serve sort of a similar purpose. Like we all kind of do entrepreneurship and business the same way, so we collaborate a lot. And it kind of helps, I call it like my gang. Like it's like, I've got those people and Luis from Local Juice, and actually Amy is someone I consider like my like smaller group of gang people. We're a gang over Chattanooga. A good gang though. A lot of people.
Keep saying it, Chris.
Yeah. I didn't say B-O-M-B. But those, I will say those like layers of community is important because they feed different things. There are different people I refer to who have relationships on chronic pain cases, but then there are totally different group of people I'm working with when it comes to family health, women's health, and making sure that I have the resources there. The guy with like super severe vertigo is a different person than I need to talk to for someone who is trying to decide very and files kind of territory and what to do about that. So those are like, and I wouldn't be getting together with them necessarily like, like sometimes. But that's I would say the layers for me, I kind of organize them actually in the planner. Like, how am I intentionally putting into these relationships? And I try to do follow-ups, especially where it matters.
Just to brag on you for a second, you are very intentional with your buckets, and it's something that really inspires me because like I'll get a touch point from you, hey, just checking on you. It's like a voice memo or this or that, and I think being in community has to look convenient a little bit in this day and age because time is of the essence, and we all have a lot of demands on us. And I think just remembering like there is a reason you're driving down the road and someone comes to mind. And I think to really act on that in that moment, whether it's to send a really good vibe or a thought into the air to God or whatever that is for you, or if you can safely pick up your phone and send that voice memo and let them know you're thinking about, like I can't tell you how many great conversations have come from just someone checking in or me checking in on someone, and then it's like, wow, I needed this today and I actually needed to tell you X, Y, and Z, or oh, I want to re-sign for the Scout Guide, and I'm like, I was thinking about you for a reason, you know what I mean? Like it's just, sometimes it's like so kismet, and I think sometimes we have to slow down enough to just acknowledge like there is reasons that there are like fleeting people or things coming into mind, and it doesn't always take action, but I think when it feels appropriate, the action is really deserving if you can reach out and be in community in that way. I just wanted to speak on, like you talked about personal and professional, and that is a world that I've like, at first I really kind of felt like it was that I struggled with, was like the overlap constantly of personal and professional. Like I just become friends with everyone I come in contact with. Like, and I'm sure some of you can resonate with that. So to me, I almost felt like the shame for like, man, am I too friendly with my clients? You know, I'm not like, not inappropriately friendly, but you know what I mean? Like, you kind of always heard growing up, like, keep your business and your personal separate. And it's just like, I've kind of let that go. And as I've let that go, my business has blossomed more than ever. And, you know, just from personally speaking, a couple weeks ago, we had a death in the family. And I can't tell you how many people that are clients of mine, they brought food to our house. They showed up for us. And, you know, just stuff like that where I'm like, what in the world? Like, I'm so lucky. And I think it's really letting go of any of that outer cultural whatever is like nagging you to just be like, no, this is my community. I live and breathe these people. This is who I support. This is who I'm out, you know, in touch with every single week. So these should be people that are bringing me food in a hard time, and that's okay. And so I think for me, that's kind of been a learning curve in business that really has just spoken volumes from a community front.
So, okay. I'm going to get a little deep with us here, and then there's different levels of community support, you know, and so I want to kind of talk about, for me, the community part that is nervous system regulating on this really deep level, and we could be in a room full of people yet still feel alone. And so what are the pieces that make us not feel alone when we're with others? And the word belonging is a very important word in terms of connection. And I kind of break it down into two pieces. And the first piece is the feeling of being received as our authentic selves. And there's not just every room that we usually feel safe to do that in. We have different parts of ourselves that we manage depending on the room that we're in and the people that we're with. So I think community that we have that allows us to be fully ourselves, whether we're not showing up in our best light, and that we're still being received for our goodness, is so vital for each of us to have, you know, whether it's one or more people that can do that. And the second piece is in having a part, right? Having a purpose within something. And when I think about even like my daughter, right? She's 6 years old, and I can see the confidence that she gains when she feels important, that she has a role, right? There's some role that she serves, and it can be simply just being yourself. Me personally, I know that I'm quite vibrant and playful, and so that's a role that I feel I play in the groups that I'm in. And it makes me think about like Blue Zone, all the research there, and a big part of longevity has to do with people feeling purposeful throughout their lives, even in when they're aging. Instead of going into homes, the elder being revered for their wisdom. And so we can use that now, not just with the elderly, but here we are in our adult lives, having purpose in the relationships that we're in.
I love that. Yeah, I think that makes me think too about there's healthy community and healthy community, right? There's healthy community as in like a vibrant community, and then there's also the health of a community, like the actual like physical well-being of a community. And there's a lot of research and shown that that it goes hand in hand, and they very much like come together. And so yeah, I'm curious then too, in that realm, talking about like what makes up a healthy community, one that is vibrant and full, and then also what makes up like a healthful community, one that is like full of healthy people, that maybe longevity or that type of thing. And kind of course, a lot of that kind of probably goes together.
Okay, let's see. So I think healthy community for me is a lot of piggybacking off of what you said. I mean, I think at least from my business community speaking, honestly, and my family or my personal community, it's when they feel acknowledged, seen, checked in on, cared for. It takes work. I mean, it takes work to participate in a healthy community. It's not just like we had one great interaction at health chats and now we're in a healthy community together. I mean, it's going to take follow-up, and it's going to take, and I think that the importance, though, of really maintaining that, being intentional with your outreach or your check-ins or whatever that may be, or just really being in tune with, again, like those thoughts and those, really feelings for people throughout the day or whatever, and then doing something about that, it creates this sense of belonging, and then everyone feels like, okay, wow, I want to stick with whatever, you know, Amy's got going on because she really seems to care, and it goes beyond just like the money that I am paying or whatever that is. And so to me, that's the greatest compliment ever, and that is where I really want to maintain my community, is that they just know I care for them beyond just the transaction of whatever it is. And so, but that doesn't just come naturally, and I do fall short, and I can look at like some of the even fall off of like my business growth, or, you know, people that maybe part ways. I'm like, man, I can say that, like, I can kind of look back and be like, it's not like I do have like a tracker. I probably should, you know, that's probably how intentional it should be, but I think that people just really need to be seen and felt and feel that sense of belonging to really maintain interest, because there are a lot of opportunities in Chattanooga, and I think luckily people find it elsewhere, and that's also beautiful. But yeah, I think healthy community is just knowing we got each other's back, and we're thinking about each other, and we're intentional.
Can you rephrase this question? Because I have something I want to share this, so make sure.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about kind of how, like, a healthy community, like what it means to be like a healthy community, like a vital community. And then also like health in a community, like your physical health and that sort of thing, kind of those two parallels.
And then one thing that comes to mind, a lot of things that I talk about with my clients, especially when it comes to like, how do we create a regulated life and just feeling like we're supported in all areas. And I think most people have a vision of what they want health to look like for themselves. They can access it pretty quick. Start to ask them what are the details, they can probably tell you how much they're stretching in the moment, or how much, what kind of foods they eat, or how they feel, or how often they smile. And sometimes people feel like this really big divide, like I don't feel healthy because I don't see myself doing these things that are in my brain, in my dream world, you know, whatever it may be. So it's like, okay, well, how do we bridge that gap? And if you look at ecosystems in nature, which I think is one of the best things that we can do, is like just look at what's in our natural world. Because we've created all these frameworks and buildings and stuff to live in, of course, there are senses of home. But really, like, the internal sense of home and place, I think, is where it starts. So, like, community would be, like, I like that you said place, it's a similar word that we use. It's like this kind of habitat external, like, outside of us. So community is our, like, outward place that we belong. Home is our internal place that we belong. It doesn't necessarily have to be a building that we live in, we call our house or home, but it's a place that we sense inside. And I think that if you look at an ecosystem like a woodchuck or a bird is like contributing in some kind of symbiotic way to this ecosystem that's a part of it. But it has to come from a healthy place too. If it's a safe bird, then it can impact the community as well. And so it does start with our own, like, turning inward to look at ourselves and look at, like, what lessons do I need to learn and how do I take care of my health? Those two things give us a stronger sense of home in ourselves. In community, of course, we have things like our relationships and our work and stuff that kind of like binds us sense of belonging there. But I think that necessarily that whole picture comes from where we show up first, and then what we can get at the point of an empty place is important. So that's how
One more little thing. I was thinking about like what it means for me to feel healthy in my community and like really be able to show up for, the people that I serve. And I think it is honoring like all sides of who we are, right? So it's like, I'm a young mom, and that is very demanding. And so thankfully I have really good practitioners in my life and people in place, and a workout routine, and come to Rev and go see Chris, and but then I also like let my hair down and like go to a DJ set on the weekend when I need to, and have a couple drinks if I need to, and then I like to be out in nature when and so it's like honoring all those sides of ourselves, that it's like wellness is a really big picture, and it's not always linear, right? So like what I might need today is what I don't need on Saturday night, and vice versa, so it's like being able to like really honor what I'm needing that day. And it doesn't always happen, of course, like my boys and my husband are a big priority that come first, but I just feel like I'm also really blessed to be in a healthy relationship and a healthy marriage where we respect each other's needs and desires to go out and do things, and then that helps me not pour from an empty cup. I can go be social, be with my buds, rejuvenate, and then be an even better version of myself for the work week or for mom Amy in my pajamas all day on Sunday or whatever that looks like. So I think being healthy for me and like taking care of ourselves is the best way we're gonna cultivate or be a part of a healthy community.
Yeah, and just kind of to go along with all of that, there's these two parts, right, of our self-care and then also of this interdependence and how strongly we impact each other. And if we focus on one and neglect the other, we're not going to have health, right? Same thing with if somebody is just very disciplined and eats well and make sure they go to sleep on time, they focus on all this this personal stuff, but yet they're not feeling they're feeling like they're carrying everything alone. They might still have health problems come up, right? So both things are important, and oftentimes what I see like in my clients is that when somebody feels actually supported and like they're not carrying life alone, a lot of the personal health things are easier to stick with, right? There's like more internal capacity and resilience from not having this like tension of just holding themselves, that it becomes easier for these self-care to be implemented anyways.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's so important to have all of the layers and bits and pieces that you guys talked about. I think is so incredibly important. Thinking about how, yes, like being able to fill your own cup and all of the multi-dimensions of like who we are and what we do, and the same like me dancing till 4 a.m. honestly, I think it's totally different than showing up here tonight. But also I'm the same person and I do show up in very similar ways. It's just like looks a little different, right?
Disconnected.
It does not like me on this one.
Bluetooth connected.
Maybe I'm just gonna talk with my mouth. But what I want to do now is open up the floor for anybody to ask questions to our panelists. And yeah.
I really love the conversations. I guess a theme that I felt was a lot of inflow, in terms of health of community and how do you build your community, how do you maintain that community. I had a circumstance where I had a new friendship, and it was almost like a vetting system. Like you get to know a new person, and maybe they aren't the healthiest to be around, but like introducing them to your other elements of community is almost like a validating system. Like if Amy introduces me to anyone, if Chris introduces me to anyone, I'm gonna assume they have the same foundation. So I heard a lot of inflow, but I didn't necessarily hear about, sometimes it's not often, but you almost have to remove people from your community in order for it to be healthy as well. It can't just be that inflow of humans and personalities and intake, because you are susceptible to their foundation, and it might be a little cracked sometimes. So I just know, I love the conversation, but I just wanted to hear more about, sometimes that shit don't work out. What does that look like?
I'll share from intentional community lens, okay? Because I lived in several intentional communities, so think of these as like a microsystem of what we have as a large community in Chattanooga. And what I found in ones that were not successful, right, versus ones that were very successful, had thriving connection and health and everything, is having a system of common denominators. And so, for example, one called TUI in New Zealand, they all had to be aligned with living closer to nature and have some connection with some higher power than them. It doesn't matter no religion, whatever, just that there's some kind of spiritual aspect. So it was just those two things. And that was enough for people to have that common ground.
I think for me, I resonate with that, Bree, a lot. And I think for me, it's been a bit of an exercise of, I worked with a business coach this past year, which was really, really empowering. And I met one here tonight. It's an athlete. You're in the room. But anyways, we need to find it because he seems great too. But anyways, I feel like a big part of the work early on was around my values and what those were. And it was really interesting that as a 36-year-old woman, I was not fully clear on what those were. And so I think part of really identifying those people who maybe aren't safe or right or best for you before it becomes a problem is knowing your own values and being able to see if you're a match. Because I have had my fair share of, in my 20s and early 30s, really getting mixed up with some of the people that maybe weren't, not a ton, but there, I mean, I've had some friend breakups and that's hard, or I've had some, you know, professional breakups that aren't easy. And I think looking back, I'm like, okay, in hindsight, I think if I would have really been crystal clear on my values and my boundaries earlier on in my life, I would have maybe, this wouldn't have ended up being an issue. I would have just been able to softly sidestep this. So I would just challenge you, if you haven't done that work or you haven't really identified those things with clarity, maybe that's part of it. But I mean, how I manage it today is like, I mean, a big part of me for my business connections is I'm not fully going to represent a business or like get in bed with someone in business if I have not seen them operate at least a full calendar year, one, or I don't have a super strong recommendation or referral from someone that I 100% trust. So those are just like big things for me that I just have been caught in a maybe not so good place a couple times, and it's just enough to be like, there's so many wonderful small businesses in town, like you said, I can wait and I can watch and I can make sure this is going to be a healthy fit for me.
Yeah, it's about the component, because I definitely think that there were people that just eventually will, actually they vet themselves out, because there's enough strength in a community that they should all your attention, which is kind of like, it won't feel comfortable for them to continue to come back, only because it's like, I actually just don't think I fit here. And so it made me feel that way. And there are times, to the point of loneliness, I think sometimes people do feel that way. I've also been in the shoes of, I remember one time I was 19, I was going through this like new group of people. They were all meeting, for, it was like a prayer group or something like that. But there was, it was like a fun night that they were into. And at the time, I grew up around like really random humor and sarcastic humor. I was really sarcastic, but I just love trying to make people laugh. So I was always like trying to do that and be like the class clown, whatever it was. And several times in that community, they just did not tolerate sarcasm, which felt hurtful. And so several people checked me on it several times. They were like, dude, that was just rude, or that was mean. And to me, I was like, some of my close friends that knew me were like, well, I know you don't like mean that. It's just like sometimes you're kind of a jerk. And I was like, I don't really, but you see things in people that other people don't see. And you're calling out stuff, and that might be a gift of yours, but you shouldn't use it for that purpose. That was really interesting to me too, because I was like, oh, I'm reading people, seeing like potentially things that might make them insecure. Then I'm trying to like connect with them over those insecure things, which feels like, but please don't hold that out. So that was like a lesson I had to learn, and thank goodness they actually just checked me on it. So I do think that community can be messy and feel a little chaotic, and then bring about order and actually help people. Like it helped me be a better person and treat people so much kinder, which I didn't even intentionally mean to do. My intention was pretty good for wanting to connect, but then I was like, oh, I didn't do this really well.
So maybe like to give chances,
I
like
think,
have a conversation.
yes, and I do think, of course, there's times where it's like this person really just doesn't know me. Like you don't need to be a part of this community, or maybe figure out something on my shoulder, whatever it is. One last thing I'll say, this happens in business too. There's this concept, there's a great book called Book Yourself Solid, and it's by Michael Port, and he talks about the Red Velvet Rope policy. And his whole premise is that there are people that you're meant to serve, and if you're like a health practitioner like me, you may hate sales and marketing, which I'm not a big fan of sales, when it's to force something that people don't want or need. You're like forcing something on them they don't really want. But there is a whole like concept of finding the people you're meant to serve. And so he talks about like the same way, you might have a club and you want to dance until 4 a.m. There's certain people that don't need to come into the club that you need to have the bouncer for and the red velvet rope. Those same people don't need to come into your practice sometimes, and then you're the vetter, you're the person with the red velvet rope who gets to decide who comes in or not. There's a qualification process, so to speak. So I do think that in relevance to the health practice, that's there too for that community.
I have one more little thing. I would encourage too, if you don't, kind of form that board of advisors for yourself or for your business. I think like having your accountability corner, but also having people you can like call to gut check things, or even ask like, hey, have you met this person, or do they follow you online? Like, what's the temp check here? Like just to be able to speak candid. Bree's been that for me for a long time. I feel like they're just people that are, and then I think even maybe more formally identifying those people and letting them know, hey, if you don't mind or if you're willing, I would love for you to be kind of one of my advisors, if you will. And I just would open the floor to say, if you ever see me with someone that maybe feels interesting or has pause, or you ever see me acting a certain way or operating a certain way, or you hear my name being spoken in a certain way, I give you full permission and would really be grateful if you would call and have that conversation with me. I think sometimes just opening that door for that type of community too is really important for the health of us as business people, as entrepreneurs and leaders, and so I would just encourage you to maybe make that list and then maybe have those conversations with those people and have that accountability in your life.
And one other when it comes to even my networking group, how we have a mission statement, right? And some things are not that formal. We don't have mission statements with, let's say, our group of friends, but there is a culture that gets created. Sometimes it takes a lot of time for culture to get created. I was just with a counselor with my partner about blending our families, and she was talking about how it can be like 5 years of blending these two cultures together, right? So it can take time, but however, when those values, like you said, Amy, are there, those core values are in place, then there's no need to push away. I like to think of more lifting each other up, and those who come into and feel the temperature of that culture will resonate. Same with my networking group. If they do resonate, or maybe this is new for them, they want to lean into it, they do. And if they don't feel resonant, then they leave, and that's okay. But the invitation's open there. And I think that's important for us to keep those open doors to help lift each other up as a community. If we think about we want our health to continue to grow, then those open doors need to keep happening.
There's a podcast called Solved. Mark Manson, who wrote the Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, he created that podcast and then he pivoted in the last year. And his very first episode is on values, and the whole premise of the podcast is to do the deepest dive you've ever seen on these kind of big overarching topics. And it's a 4.5-hour episode podcast, but it's amazing. He only releases one a month on these, because it's so well researched and so backed up with everything. I highly recommend visiting that, especially that episode. If values are something you're trying to find and or articulate for yourself. It was really, really interesting. There's a lot of science to it, and it kind of ties in everything that you guys are all saying. So yeah, definitely. Any other questions for our panelists? Yes.
So as community builders and people, I would really love to hear the particular beat your bonnet or your soapbox about what frustrates you the most about community, or how people talk about community.
All right, I got one.
She's like, we're done.
And I'm so guilty of this. And I think it's just a part of today's day and age in the business we have, and consistency is definitely that weak point that disconnects. And it's challenging because a lot of us are wearing so many hats and have our schedules packed from start to finish. And we're trying to meet all the people. So let's hit our networking events. Let's have all the friends or whatever it is. And then consistency becomes really challenging when we try to spread ourselves too thin. Like I said, I'm guilty of this too. But it's also, I think Amy said something earlier about following up, and that's so important to building trust in community. So consistency is a big one for me.
So what we are frustrated about by community?
The thing that it comes up with, whenever it comes up, you're just like, wow, this again.
Oh, this again. Oh, I mean, maybe the word balance. I don't know if that's applicable, but yeah, I mean, I think because it's I do really, in my perfect dream world of Dream Amy, she does have a lot of balance, but that's really not a great reality right now. And I think that I noticed that if my community is being poured into, something at home is suffering. And if my home life is just thriving, my business starts. Like literally, it's just always this like teeter. So maybe that does sort of have to do with community, because it's just like we're just all imperfect, and you know there's not going to be like this perfect balanced symbiosis we're going to strike at any point. And I think healthy communities appreciate, acknowledge, and understand that, and there's grace there.
Yeah, grace.
Okay.
I know, it's a hard question.
Well, it's funny because I go back to like we're just like we are natural beings. You know, we live in this little digital age of like trying to look perfect on social and stuff. Nobody looks that way, you know. And we're super messy. And like one day you got it together, and the next day you're not consistent. But you want to be consistent, but you're not. So it's like, well, it's like today wasn't great. And so yeah, I think there maybe it is a little bit of that like the hard expectations that we put on ourselves, it does trouble us needlessly. And I think that that's like, and I also think maybe I would say people who are too hard on themselves and too hard on others. It's like, I have buddies I call up, I grew up with, and I'm like 3 to 5 minutes in the car. I'll just call them, hey, thinking about you. And they're like, dude, I'm sorry, I never called. I'm like, I never did that now. Like,
Yeah.
I am just calling you because I thought I'm selfish. You know, it's like, this is fine. But I also think that it's like, that's okay. Like, I think that we need to have grace on each other. And it's tough. You never know what's going through. You also never know what one small kind action will do in someone's world. You know, and it's like those little things that just matter so much. So I would say.
Anybody else have a question? Oh, yeah, I see two. Right, yeah.
About the third place you hear about whenever it's, I guess it was work and home, although I don't know that work is really the second place anymore for a lot of people.
Yeah, really.
So I wanted to hear about like different third places that we all think of for community, like what's a third place for maybe panelists or others in the crowd, like just different networking groups or dance.
Yeah, dance.
Saturday night.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Everybody
I
come
want to
where
hear
to-
about some opportunities for connection and community, I guess.
Yeah. The Hunter Museum. Woo! I'm gonna shout that out. I love the Hunter Museum for my family. Like those like first Thursdays are great. There's like a bunch of things that they host really cool open spaces, and that's like one of the places I just got the most interesting people going through. And then sometimes I walk through there and don't meet anybody, and just hang out with my family. I like arts and culture, music as a third place. So wherever music is, just be there and support and clap for the artists when they're done, like with their song. You know, it's tough to like get out there and feel like you did it. Like, I have $2 do something, and then it's like you just go home. But like again back to the intentionality, I think it's like let's show up for these awesome things that we got access to. And make the plan to if we enjoy it, especially connected to us. One place for me personally too, I would say is the Common House. I spent many years there through their ups and downs. They've had a lot of ups and downs. And what I like about it is that for me, it's a great place. It feels like I'm going on vacation every time I leave. I'll take like a lunch break, an hour lunch break. I'll come for like 15 minutes, sweep out of the pool, try to like hour and a half for like 5 or 10 minutes, go to lunch, and then shower, get back to work like real quick. But it's just like, it feels like a nice thing that I did for myself. I might see a friend there, and then that friend might make a connection. We also hosted community connections evening at Common House through kind of the local group I mentioned with Priya and McKinsey that's Love Local Chat. And so it's all supporting like local businesses and people who are local and kind of the small town vibes. But we host that every fourth Wednesday, and it's fun because it's just like an unwind hour that there's no agenda, there's no like networking, speed dating thing going on. It's just like, let's just all get together and relax and get off the work and talk and go on.
I mean, my life is pretty boring because I'm busy at home right now, but home, work, both of those are pretty demanding right now. But I would say my gym, I mean, Forte Fitness is where I've been going for years, and it just keeps getting better, and I have met so many connections through that place. I mean, not only is it just like soul feeding for me, but it really has led me to some great connections. It's a a higher end clientele. It is personal training, but there are just like really quality people there. And I would say since the new ownership in the last couple of years, it's not as high end of a clientele. There's definitely more of a mixed demographic, which I really appreciate. So yeah, I think finding a really good, healthy gym space can be a really great point of connection.
Yeah, having hobbies is a great thing. And I know when I was traveling overseas, everywhere I went was a new community. And so acro yoga was something that I dropped into that found like a connection now. So I dance, my yoga community here, but on a deeper level too, women's circles has been just so crucial to me personally and my health and mental health and connection. And like when I lived over in Australia, New Zealand, women's circles everywhere. Colorado, women's circles everywhere. And I think it's kind of not as a big thing here in Chattanooga, having men's circles, women's circles, or collective circles. And these circles, if you haven't been to one, are spaces where we can be our full selves, or actually be vulnerable in those spaces about things that are challenging and be supported by others. So an intentional space to be vulnerable, right? Because we can have vulnerability come out in conversation, but when we actually create space for it as like a healthy routine, right? I go get my checkup, for this, that, and the other health-wise, and I also have a space where I can bring my full self.
Yeah, I'll just talk because I have a lot of voice. I don't need it. Okay. But I think that's amazing because I was like, what is a women's circle? I didn't even actually really know. I was like, that's really cool.
You attend one here, or do you start?
Yeah.
Yeah, I started one here. It's called Opening to Life.
Wow.
Yeah, so if you want women's circle here. For me, it's dance. I started the Chattanooga dance community with 2 co-founders, and that has been amazing. We started a WhatsApp group, and within like 6 days, we had 75 people in it, and then now we have over 300 people, and we have 120 to 150 people coming to our events every month. And so there was an obvious need for people to learn how to do salsa and bachata and Latin dance. And so we have some people here, and it's been really, really amazing over the course of the last year. So I think like going out, trying new things, hobbies, like put yourself out there, go learn something new, and like just put yourself in a space where you have the opportunity to like meet new people and that kind of thing. He really doesn't like when I talk. I don't even have a microphone anymore. Sorry, Bluetooth. So anyway, that's my answer to that. And then Logan, I know you had something.
Yeah, Chris, you're kind of speaking on your visual and social stuff.